Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk to you about books that really scared me. Now this is gonna be horror books, but ones where there's something in there that just creeped me the fuck out. So if you're looking for a scary read, then look no further. Here are some of my recommendations. Okay, so the first book I want to recommend is Ring Shout by Djeli Clark. This is a short novella, a horror novella, where we are following monster hunters, and the monsters that are being hunted are Ku Kluxes, though they are monsters that are involved with the Ku Klux Klan. And so the three women we are following who are hunting them are black women. And this book is really messed up. Like at first you're like, oh yeah, they're hunting the monsters and it's very action-packed and you're following them as they fight the monsters. But then as you learn more and more about kind of the like things that are behind the Ku Kluxes, I can't even say it, it gets so fucking creepy. Like, yeah, I will never look at a butcher the same anymore. But yeah, definitely an experience. And if you're looking closely at the cover, you will see something that is kind of like indicative of what you're getting here. But yeah, these like creatures, they're fucking scary and gross. Then we have The Hollow Places by Kingfisher. Now, I know that this book is not for everyone, but I quite enjoyed it, and I especially enjoyed the first half of the book, which is really scary because we're following a woman. She is a little bit down on her luck. I think she just got divorced or broke up with her partner, and so she needs a place to live, and she has the opportunity to go to her uncle who has a museum of little oddities, and he needs some kind of a surgery, so she's taking over the museum while he's gone. And then one day she finds a hole in the wall, and while she is trying to investigate what the hell that hole is, she gets sucked into another dimension, and that one is really scary. Now, after this book, I never looked at a school bus the same again. Like, luckily we don't have those types of school buses in Germany, but yeah, that... such a scene. So yeah, the first half of this really creepy. I think the second half let down a little bit, but the first half creeped me the fuck out. Then we have a book that I always need to mention when I talk about horror books, and I know it's hella problematic and I don't really recommend you read it, except when you're like ready to read something problematic. But for me, it's nostalgia. I've read it so many times and I just like it so much, and that is It by Stephen King. Now, you've probably heard about Pennywise the clown, and I think that it is definitely scary in parts. The movies were quite a lot. Like, the old movie, definitely a lot. The new movies, also quite a lot. Like, with the new movies, the picture, the painting, I can't do it. I can't do it. I don't know why, but that is too much for me. But yeah, the book has like very scary parts as well, but it also has this like campy feeling of these kids having the summer holiday and they're just all free to roam and do what they want, and I like that kind of feeling. But Pennywise does have his moments, definitely. Then we might have an odd one, and that is We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. But this book stands in for all of the books that portray kind of like what men can do to women, which is something that is very scary to me. Like, I could put The Handmaid's Tale on here as well, because that scares the shit out of me. That whole idea, scary as hell. But in We Have Always Lived in the Castle, we have this like very creepy atmosphere, and we're looking at a family that had a big tragedy, and now there's only two sisters left and their uncle. Their uncle is in a wheelchair, I think, so the two sisters have kind of taken over, and the older sister is trying to keep it all together. They live in this big mansion at the outskirts of a town. And yeah, if you're afraid of like mobs and stuff like that, I think this book will scare you. It scared me. I found it very scary, and once I started reading it, I had to finish it. Like, there was no question. I just read the whole thing within a couple of hours, and yeah, made me very uncomfortable. Then going back to the ghosties, we have The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. This is a book that also deals with some like more feminist themes. We are looking at missing women and this whole thing, but we basically follow two characters. We have our main character and her aunt, and we're seeing what the aunt was up to a couple of years ago, and then we're seeing our main character going to the town where her aunt went missing and trying to figure out what happened to her. And there is ghosts involved in that in the Sundown Motel, so we have this like haunted motel vibe. And I am very easily pleased when it comes to haunting horror, because I just like the subtle things, like the doors opening and closing by themselves, like lights flickering. That's the stuff that gets me scared. I don't know why. Like footsteps above you when you know there's no one above you. That gets me. So yeah, I really liked the creepy vibes in the Sundown Motel. And then similarly, we have The Haunting of Blackwood House by Darcy Coates. Now, last year I heard for the first time that Darcy Coates is supposed to write cozy horror. And having read a couple of her books, I do see why. This is the first book of hers that I have read, and the only one I've really liked so far. So this is the only one I would recommend from the ones that I've read. But this one definitely was creepy to me, just because of the things that I just described. Like, the haunting of this house is just very traditional, but very effective to me, and I had to stop the audiobook sometimes because it was getting a little bit much when I listened to it at night, getting ready for bed. Then we have a thriller that was really thrilling. Like, I read some thrillers, but usually they're just okay. But this one I could not put down. Like, my heart was pounding throughout the whole thing. And that is Mercy by Jussi Adler-Olsen. And this one, we are following a man who, because he did something wrong, he now is supposed to solve cold cases, the cases that have been unsolved for many, many years. And so one of the cases is a missing politician, I think, and he starts looking into it again, and at the same time we are following the politician, so we know what is happening to her, where she is gone. And that was so scary to me, like what was going on with her. It's just, yeah, I don't know if I can recommend this book, honestly, but I thought if you really want a thriller, I would recommend this book. So next I want to recommend a short story, but unfortunately I got rid of the book that was in, so I don't know what it was called. I could probably find out, but it is in the story collection Slasher Girls and Monster Boys, and it is, I think, the second story that is in there, and it is Alice in Wonderland inspired. And that one was scary, so scary. I don't know what it is. I remember that as a child I had this nightmare about a huge bunny, and yeah, so rabbits get me. They do. So yeah, that story was generally really creepy, and I read it right before bed, and I regretted that. The rest of the story was good too, but like that particular story, that one was great. Okay, so I think the one is In the Forest Dark and Deep by Carrie Ryan, but correct me if I'm wrong. And then we have The Woman in Black by Susan Hill. This is a book that like really scared me, and I don't really remember the plot, but I just remember that I was like generally scared with this book. Like, if you like kind of ghost stories, this one is one that you need to give a try. I really liked it. Okay, and then the last book is also YA, but it has something that is so scary to me. Like, just if I imagine it, no. And that is Unwind by Neil Shusterman. This is the first book in a quartet, but if you want, you can read it as a standalone. And in this one, we are following a kind of world where if teenagers are in between a certain age, I think between 14 and 17 or 18, something like that, they can basically be given up by their parents to be organ donors. But in this world, that means they're basically completely taken apart, and like all of their parts can be bought by like rich people if they want like more muscular legs or something like that. So yeah, this is like such a creepy scenario to me. And towards the end of this book, there is a chapter where we follow one character while this is actually done to him. And that was the worst. That was one of the worst things I've ever read. And it scared me so much. Like, so much you can't even imagine. But yeah, these would be some books that actually totally scared me. I would love to hear some books that you found very scary. Now, I don't do the like super crazy horror yet, but it might still come. So leave your recommendations. I would love to hear that, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye!